Up the top, it's time for a new video to drop. And today, I'm playing WWE 2K22 Universe mode, but I go 22 years into the future. That's right, this is a series that I love doing on all of the WWE 2K Universe modes and WWE Games Universe modes in general, but today, I get to finally do it with WWE 2K22. For those unaware, this is where I take a Universe mode save and I go each year to WrestleMania and find out what the card is like, who the current champions are, and things of that nature. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our very first year and sim to our very first WrestleMania. If you do enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like. Can we hit 1,000 likes in the first 24 hours of this video being uploaded? I think we can. So AJ Styles is the cover boy for our first WrestleMania here. Let's see the card though. Whoa! We're kicking things off at WrestleMania with Rey Mysterio versus Finn Balor in a steel cage match. We're gonna go ahead and simulate the whole show though. Finn Balor picks up the win in this steel cage match. We then have The Miz and Morrison losing in a tag match to the RK Bro. After that, Mustafa Ali wins the Intercontinental Championship. That is awesome to see, bro. I absolutely love Mustafa Ali. I think he's a great wrestler. I feel like he should definitely be a champion, so that's awesome to see. We have Otis and Chad Gable, Alpha Academy, picking up the win for the Raw Tag Team Championships over the Street Profits. Damian Priest defeats Apollo Crews for the United States Championship. We have a huge four-way tag for the SmackDown Tag titles, and it seems that the New Day are the SmackDown Tag Champions coming out of WrestleMania. Carmella defeats Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH defeat Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. After that, we got King Nakamura defeating Drew Gulak. Natalya defeats Sasha Banks. Drew McIntyre defeats Cesaro for the Universal Championship. I know that's a dream match for Drew McIntyre that now sadly can't happen IRL, but here in the game, it absolutely did. We have Becky Lynch defeating Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. We got Brock Lesnar defeating Bobby Lashley. Freak Bobby if you nasty at WrestleMania. And in the main event, Seth Rollins defeats AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. That was our WrestleMania year one. Let's go ahead and go over to year two. For year two, Drew McIntyre is the cover boy, but what's this card talking about, baby? Becky Lynch has defeated Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship to kick things off. KO is going up against Finn Balor with Kevin Owens picking up the big win. Jinder Mahal defeated Mustafa Ali here at WrestleMania. I believe they ran it back from last year, yeah? We got Sami Zayn defeating Kalisto. If y'all have never seen El Generico versus Samurai del Sol, y'all gotta go watch the matches. I'm just saying right here, right now. We go on though to Mason T-Bar, Retribution defeating the Dirty Dogs. Going onwards, Karrion Kross defeats Apollo Crews for the United States Championship. We got King Nakamura defeating Mansoor for the Intercontinental Championship. Roman Reigns defeats Ricochet. After that, Charlotte Flair defeats Carmella. And then we have Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeating Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH for the SmackDown, or the Women's Championships for the tag team. I can't speak. We got John Cena defeating Sheamus. After that, AJ Styles defeats Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Big E defeats Rey Mysterio in the main event of the evening. Drew McIntyre defeats Kofi Kingston to retain, I believe, the Universal Championship. Was WrestleMania year two better than year one? Let me know in the comment section down below. Buddy Murphy is the cover boy for year three. What happened? Let's go ahead and check out this card. Whoa! Charlotte Flair defeats Naomi for the SmackDown Women's Championship to open things up here at Mania. Carmella defeats Sonya Deville. Tegan Nox and Shotzi defeat Natalya and Tamina. Ain't nobody Mina. MVP defeats Kevin Owens. We then have the Alpha Academy defeating the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Kalisto defeats King Nakamura. We got Jinder Mahal winning the Intercontinental Championship against Drew Gulak. Where are my seagulls at? Braun Strowman defeats Damian Priest for the United States Championship. Becky Lynch defeats Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's Championship. We got Big E defeating Jeff Hardy in a steel cage match, mind you. King Woods and Kofi Kingston defeat Jimmy and Jey Uso for the SmackDown Tag Championships. Bobby Lashley, freak Bobby if you nasty, defeats Rey Mysterio in a tables match for the WWE Championship. We then have Drew McIntyre defeating John Cena for the Universal Championship in the main event. Drew's been in the Universal title match every year, I think. And in the main event, whoa! Murphy defeats John Cena for the WWE Universal Championship with a cash-in. I know it says customized match, but that's not me, baby. That's the game. I didn't do that. It says it no matter what. Alexa Bliss is our cover woman here on WrestleMania. Let's find out WrestleMania Year 4, what took place. We kick things off with AJ Styles battling Big E in a steel cage match for the WWE Championship, with AJ picking up the win. Drew McIntyre faces Eric, not to take Pulse's bit, but geez, for the Universal Championship. We then got Jinder Mahal defeating Kalisto. We got Happy Corbin defeating Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title. Billy Kay defeats Peyton Royce at WrestleMania. You're telling me you split up the Iconics, you six sons of... We got Shelton Benjamin defeating MVP for the United States Championship, so it seems they split the Hurt business. They ain't a business of Hurt, they ain't a Hurt business. We got Dominic Mysterio defeating Kevin Owens. After that, Naomi defeats Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. You love to see that. Charlotte Flair defeats Toni Storm. I'm sure that did not end well. We have Bobby Lashley defeating Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. John Cena defeats Sheamus yet again at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns defeats Cesaro. That's a big match right there. We got Seth Rollins defeating Finn Balor. And in the main event of the evening, we got a Raw Women's Championship triple threat with Becky Lynch defeating Alexa Bliss and Lacey Evans. Finn Balor is the cover boy of Year 5's WrestleMania, and the match that kicks things off this time is Charlotte Flair defeating Toni Storm yet again. We're going to go through now. Shelton Benjamin defeats Keith Lee for the United States Championship. Bro, Shelton with a U.S. title run would be so icy if you ask me. Lana defeats Alexa Bliss. We got Mason T-Bar defeating the Alpha Academy. Tegan Nox and Shotzi defeat Tamina and Natalya. Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford defeat Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode for those Raw Tag Team Championships. Eric and Ivar defeat Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Sami Zayn defeats Kalisto for the Intercontinental Championship. Randy Orton and Riddle defeat The Miz and John Morrison in tag team action. We got Bianca Belair defeating Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's Championship. Rey Mysterio defeats Kevin Owens. We got John Cena defeating Kofi Kingston for the Universal Championship. That's a huge match if you ask me. We got Bayley defeating Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship yet again. Another huge match if you ask me. But what's the main event? Brock Lesnar losing to Finn Balor for the WWE Championship. That is your main event of Year 5. And if you ask me, that might be the best Mania we've seen yet. Roman Reigns is the cover boy of Year 6 is WrestleMania. So let's find out what this card talking about real quick. We got Seth Rollins defeating AJ Styles in a steel cage match. Big E defeats Rey Mysterio in a normal match. Jinder Mahal defeats Kalisto. We got Sami Zayn defeating Mustafa Ali for the Intercontinental Championship. Keith Lee defeats Tucker for the United States Championship. We got the Dirty Dogs defeating Lucha House Party in a tag team match. Sheamus defeats Cesaro in what I'm sure raised the bar. Winky face, winky face, winky face. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash defeat Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. We got Bayley defeating Sasha Banks. Jimmy and Jey Uso defeat Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. We got Kevin Owens defeating Finn Balor. How the mighty have fallen since last year's WrestleMania, Finn. After that, Alexa Bliss does defeat Becky Lynch for that Raw Women's Championship. Brock Lesnar defeats Bobby Lashley. Once again, freak Bobby if you nasty. And in the main event of the evening, Roman Reigns defeats John Cena for the Universal Championship. Lackluster after last year's Mania, I'm not gonna lie. Bianca Belair is the cover woman of Year 7's Universe mode, and we're kicking things. Whoa! Brock Lesnar defeats Apollo Crews for the WWE Championship. Now, real quick, can they change their rankings throughout, or did Apollo win the Rumble? Because that's kind of crazy. Moving forward, though, Sheamus does defeat Cesaro. Kalisto defeats Jinder Mahal. We got Dana Brooke defeating Billy Kay. Drew Gulak defeats Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship, mind you. We got Otis and Chad Gable defeating Miz and Morrison for those Raw Tag titles. Keith Lee defeats Jeff Hardy for the United States Championship. Murphy defeats Drew McIntyre. We got Rey Mysterio defeating Big E. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeat Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley. Jey Uso defeats John Cena for the WWE Universal Championship. Wait a minute. Slow it down. What? Jey Uso is our Universal Champion? That's crazy. Going forward, though, AJ Styles does defeat Bobby Lashley. Freak Bobby if you nasty. We got Sasha Banks defeating Bayley for that SmackDown Women's Championship. And in the main event of the evening, Becky Lynch defeats Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan in a triple threat match for that Raw Women's Championship. Year 7's Mania, kinda nutty if you ask me. Becky Lynch is the cover woman of Year's 8 WrestleMania. So what's going to happen on this one? Jeff Hardy defeats Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, which means that I believe they can change rankings now, which is really, really cool for these type of videos, bro. This is awesome to see. I didn't know that that could happen again. That's great. Moving forward, though, Bobby Lashley does defeat Kevin Owens. We got Drew Gulak defeating Jinder Mahal. John Morrison and The Miz defeat Otis and Chad Gable for those Raw Tag Team Championships. Cedric Alexander wins the U.S. Championship by defeating Braun Strowman. John Cena defeats Murphy. We got Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza defeating Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Sasha Banks defeats Mickie James. Roman Reigns defeats Cesaro. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defeat Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley. We got AJ Styles defeating Big E. Charlotte Flair defeats Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And we got Mustafa Ali winning the Intercontinental Championship against King Nakamura. And then in the main event, whoa, Maurice with the ooh-wee. Ooh-wee wins the Raw Women's Championship against Becky Lynch and Asuka. That is crazy. Year 9 WrestleMania is cover starred by Rhea Ripley. Let's find out how Year 9's treating us. Big E defeats Seth Rollins in the opening contest. Mickie James wins the SmackDown Women's Championship as she defeats Bayley. We got Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo defeating Eric and Ivar in a tag team action. We got Becky Lynch defeating Billie Kay. In the steel cage match, Mustafa Ali defeats Sami Zayn for that Intercontinental Championship. Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford defeat Chad Gable and Otis in tag team action. Lacey Evans defeats Peyton Royce. We got Cedric Alexander defeating Braun Strowman for the United States Championship. Roman Reigns defeats Murphy for the WWE Universal Championship. Happy Corbin defeats King Nakamura. We got Bobby Lashley defeating Jeff Hardy in a normal match. Rey Mysterio wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship against AJ Styles. Drew McIntyre defeats John Cena in the main event of the evening. We got Asuka defeating Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair in a Raw Women's Championship match. Year 10's WrestleMania is showcased by the boss. We got Sasha Banks in the building. But what's this Year 10 WrestleMania card talking about? Is it special? Let's find out. We are opening things off with Big E defeating AJ Styles. Moving on, though, Roman Reigns does defeat Cesaro. We got Maurice defeating Billie Kay in a steel cage match. Elias defeats Cedric Alexander in a one-on-one normal match. Mustafa Ali defeats Jinder Mahal for the Intercontinental Championship. Slapjack wins the U.S. Championship by defeating Karrion Kross. Tegan Nox and Shotzi do defeat Tamina and Natalya. Murphy wins the WWE Universal Championship by defeating Drew McIntyre. Apollo Crews wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship by defeating Brock Lesnar. We got the Usos defeating the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. We got Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH defeating Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the Women's Tag titles. Charlotte Flair does defeat Bayley. Seth Rollins defeats Bobby Lashley. And in the main event of the evening, Carmella defeats Sasha Banks and Naomi for the SmackDown Women's Championship. 11's WrestleMania is showcased by Rhea Ripley. Let's find out how this card looking like. We got Charlotte Flair losing to Toni Storm for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Riddle and Randy Orton do defeat Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler in a tag match. Dominic Mysterio defeats Elias in a steel cage match. We got Tegan Nox and Shotzi losing to Natalya and Tamina in a tag team match. Mustafa Ali defeats Happy Corbin for that Intercontinental Championship. King Nakamura defeats Drew Gulak. We got Karrion Kross winning the U.S. Championship against Damian Priest. Cesaro defeats Xavier Woods, and the party was certainly watching that one, let me tell you. And that was for the SmackDown Universal Championship. John Cena does defeat Ricochet. We got The Miz and John Morrison defeating Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Kevin Owens defeats Bobby Lashley. Freak Bobby if you nasty. And then we're going on to Asuka defeating Becky Lynch. Brock Lesnar defeats Rey Mysterio for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And Bianca Belair in the main event of the evening wins the Raw Women's Championship, defeating Rhea Ripley and Alexa Bliss. Our year 12, because I forgot what the last year was. If this isn't year 12, I feel really dumb right now. Year 12 universe mode is John Cena as the poster boy. Hopefully this is year 12 and I didn't just goof. We'll know in the edit, baby. Going forward, though, Bobby Lashley does defeat Finn Balor, and it's going to be a crazy opening match. We got AJ Styles defeating Kevin Owens. After that, Tucker defeats Dominic Mysterio for that United States Championship. Tegan Nox and Shotzi defeat Tamina and Natalya in a tag team match. King Nakamura defeats Kalisto for the Intercontinental Championship. Roman Reigns defeats Murphy. After that, we got Sheamus defeating Cesaro. Sonya Deville defeats Charlotte Flair for that SmackDown Women's Championship. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defeat Jay and Jimmy Uso for the SmackDown Tag titles. We got Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeating Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley in tag team action. Becky Lynch defeats Asuka for that Raw Women's Championship. Seth Rollins defeats Rey Mysterio in singles competition. Brock Lesnar defeats Big E for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And in the main event of the evening, John Cena defeats Drew McIntyre for the WWE Universal Championship. Please tell me that was year 12. Who's ready for Asuka at year 13's WrestleMania? Let's find out this card. Finn Balor does defeat Seth Rollins. John Cena defeats Ricochet for the WWE Universal Championship. Peyton Royce defeats Lana. We got Shelton Benjamin defeating Tucker. We got Drew Gulak defeating Jinder Mahal for the Intercontinental Championship. Carmella defeats Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, them dirty dogs, defeat Randy Orton and Riddle for the Raw Tag Team titles. Chad Gable and Otis defeat the Miz and John Morrison. We got Mansoor defeating King Nakamura. Damian Priest defeats Braun Strowman for the United States Championship. Rey Mysterio defeats Jeff Hardy. We got the Usos defeating Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston for the SmackDown Tag titles. We got it Big E defeating AJ Styles for that WWE World title. In the main event of the evening, Rhea Ripley defeats Asuka and Lacey Evans in a Raw Women's Championship main event. Year 14's WrestleMania is headlined here by Kevin Owens. You love to see that. Going into it, though, Braun Strowman defeats Shelton Benjamin for the U.S. title. You hate to see that. We got Drew Gulak defeating King Nakamura for that Intercontinental Championship. Elias defeats Tucker in a steel cage match. We got Chad Gable and Otis winning the Raw Tag titles here at WrestleMania. Naomi defeats Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso defeat Ivar and Eric in a tag team match. We got Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo defeating Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston for those SmackDown Tag titles. Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley defeat Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. We got Charlotte Flair defeating Sonya Deville. Ricochet defeats Sheamus for the WWE Universal Championship. Rey Mysterio defeats Apollo Crews. Seth Rollins defeats Big E. We got Becky Lynch defeating Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. And in the main event of the evening, we got Kevin Owens defeating Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. You love to see it, bro. Year 15's WrestleMania is headlined by Becky Lynch. Let's go ahead and jump on into things, though. AJ Styles defeats Bobby Lashley for that WWE Championship. Moving forward, though, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler defeat RK Bro. We got Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford defeating Chad Gable and Otis for the Raw Tag titles. Bayley defeats Mickie James. We got Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defeating Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. After that, Cedric Alexander does defeat Braun Strowman for the U.S. Championship. Tamina, ain't nobody Mina and Tamina, and Natalya defeat Tegan Nox and Shotzi. Kalisto wins the Intercontinental Championship via defeating King Nakamura. Rey Mysterio does defeat Jeff Hardy. We got Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH defeating Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Seth Rollins does defeat Big E. After that, Sasha Banks defeats Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Roman Reigns defeats Sheamus for the Universal Championship. And in the main event of the evening, Bianca Belair defeats Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. Asuka is the cover star of Year 16's WrestleMania, so let's find out what happens here. Bayley defeats Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Drew McIntyre defeats Sami Zayn for the Universal Championship. Billie Kay defeats Lana. We got Cedric Alexander defeating MVP for that United States Championship. Eric and Ivar defeat Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. We got Peyton Royce defeating Lacey Evans. After that, King Nakamura defeats Drew Gulak. Happy Corbin does defeat Jinder Mahal for the Intercontinental Championship. Jeff Hardy Hardy defeats Rey Mysterio in a normal match. Randy Orton and Riddle defeat Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Kevin Owens does defeat Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Roman Reigns defeats Cesaro in a normal match. We got the New Day defeating the Usos for the SmackDown Tag titles. And in the main event of the evening, Becky Lynch defeats Asuka and Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. Balor is the cover boy for year 17 IRL. This was the year where we saw The Rock face Stone Cold with that beautiful My Way package. But what's about to happen in this universe mode? John Cena defeats Cesaro for the Universal Championship. We got the Street Profits defeating RK Bro for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Natalya and Tamina defeat Tegan Nox and Shotzi in a tag match. Drew Gulak defeats Mustafa Ali for the Intercontinental Championship. Karrion Kross defeats MVP for the United States Championship. The Usos defeat Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza for the SmackDown Tag titles. Naomi defeats Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Drew McIntyre defeats Sami Zayn. We got Becky Lynch defeating Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. Seth Rollins defeats Apollo Crews. Jeff Hardy defeats Bobby Lashley. Sheamus defeats Roman Reigns. We got Rey Mysterio defeating Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. I almost said the Raw Championship, but that's not what it's called. In the main event of the evening, AJ Styles beats Fiend Balor in a steel cage match. WrestleMania 18 is headlined here by Shayna Baszler. Let's find out what's going on here from the Submission Magician. We got Bobby Lashley defeating AJ Styles in our opening contest. Big E defeats Apollo Crews. Jinder Mahal defeats Ricochet. We got Drew Gulak defeating Kalisto for the Intercontinental Championship. Lacey Evans defeats Reckoning in a rivalry match. Karrion Kross does defeat Cedric Alexander for that United States Championship. Alexa Bliss defeats Billie Kay in a normal match. We got Naomi defeating Bayley for that Women's Championship. Eric and Ivar defeat Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso for the SmackDown Tag titles. King Nakamura defeats Mansoor. Fiend Balor defeats Rey Mysterio for that WWE Championship. Xavier Woods defeats Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. You love to see that. We got Brock Lesnar defeating Seth Rollins in a huge match. In the main event of the evening, Shayna Baszler defeats Nikki ASH for the Raw Women's Championship. Yo, shouts out the Woods, bro. WrestleMania 19 is headlined by Angelo Dawkins. I love to see that, bro. Let's see what's happening on this one. We got Brock Lesnar defeating Big E in a cage match for that WWE Championship. Okay. We got Nia Jax defeating Shayna Baszler. MVP defeats Cedric Alexander for the United States Championship. Naomi defeats Sasha Banks for that WWE Women's Championship over on SmackDown. Sheamus defeats Sami Zayn. Tegan Nox and Shotzi defeat Tamina and Natalya. We got Murphy defeating Drew McIntyre. Drew Gulak defeats Mansoor for the Intercontinental Championship. AJ Styles defeats Kevin Owens. We got Peyton Royce winning the Raw Women's Championship over Becky Lynch. You love to see that. Jeff Hardy does defeat Rey Mysterio in a cage match. Rollins defeats Bobby Lashley. We got Roman Reigns beating John Cena for the Universal Championship. In the main event of the evening, we got Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford defeating RK Bro for those Raw Tag Team Championships. Year 20's WrestleMania is inspirational as Peyton Royce is on the cover. What's happening on this one? We got Alexa Bliss defeating Asuka for that Raw Women's Championship. Becky Lynch defeats Billie Kay, so obviously it's not going to be a tag match for Peyton Royce. We got Drew Gulak versus Jinder Mahal. Mustafa Ali defeats Ricochet for the Intercontinental title, and I'm sure that was an absolute banger, bro. We got Otis and Chad Gable versus Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins for the Raw tag titles. The Usos defeat Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo for them tag things right there. I was gonna say a tag title, but no. There's no tag title right there. We got a huge four-way tornado tag that is won by The Miz and John Morrison. Braun Strowman defeats MVP for the United States Championship. Drew McIntyre defeats Murphy for that Universal Championship. Bayley defeats Naomi for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Jeff Hardy defeats Bobby Lashley. We got Xavier Woods defeating Sheamus. After that, Seth Rollins defeats Rey Mysterio for the WWE Championship. In the main event of the evening, Peyton Royce loses to Lana in a steel cage match for nothing. Why? WrestleMania 21 is headlined with Shayna Baszler once again. That's a two-timer for Shayna right now. So we're opening things off with Roman Reigns defeating Cesaro, Kevin Owens defeating Seth Rollins, Akira Tozawa winning the U.S. title against MVP. Alexa Bliss does defeat Billie Kay. We got Mason T-Bar defeating The Miz and John Morrison for those Raw tag titles. Charlotte Flair defeats Carmella. After that, we got Ricochet defeating Jinder Mahal for the Intercontinental Championship. Sonya Deville wins the SmackDown Women's Championship against Bayley. We got Eric and Ivar defeating the Usos for the SmackDown Tag titles. King Nakamura defeats Mustafa Ali. Big E defeats Jeff Hardy. After that, we got Rey Mysterio defeating Brock Lesnar. We got Asuka defeating Becky Lynch for that Raw Women's Championship. In the main event of the evening, Nia Jax defeats Shayna Baszler. No titles on the line. I don't know why it's the main event. You know, I think we're going downhill here in the WWE. I think we're at that point now in the WWE where everything goes downhill. We had a little uptick earlier. Now we're at a downtick. You know what I'm saying? This is our very last WrestleMania of this sim, and Brock Lesnar is the cover star, so let's find out what happens on year 22's WrestleMania. We got Seth Rollins defeating Bobby Lashley. Akira Tozawa defeats Braun Strowman for the U.S. Championship. Liv Morgan is our last Raw Women's Championship. You love to see that. I'll tell you what, Mason T-Bar defeat The Miz and Morrison for the Raw Tag titles. We got Ricochet defeating Jinder Mahal for the Intercontinental Championship. Mickie James defeats Sonya Deville for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Naomi defeats Charlotte Flair. Natalya and Tamina defeat Tegan Nox and Shotzi. Drew McIntyre defeats Cesaro. We got King Nakamura defeating Mansoor. After that, Finn Balor defeats Jeff Hardy. Rey Mysterio defeats Kevin Owens for the WWE Championship. John Cena loses to Xavier Woods, who is our last Universal Champion. You love to see that. And in the main event of the evening, Brock Lesnar defeats Damian Priest in a normal cage match. Why did that main event over Woods and John Cena? I'll never know. Ladies and gentlemen, we went 22 years into the future on WWE 2K22 Universe Mode, and that happened. Comment down below what was your favorite part, and how would you like to see me do this series in the future? But as always and forever, take it easy though, guys. Peace!